friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Isabel and today we're going to do a sketchbook tour. So let's get this plant out of the way that's hiding the reflection of the light and let's get started. This sketchbook lasted me about a year. It was a bit on and off because I do have another sketchbook that just has pencil drawings in it because the paper isn't thick enough. So I probably would have finished this faster with it than my primary sketchbook. Alright, I'm going to talk fast because there's a lot in here. So this is a little marker drawing that I started off with. I don't really use markers that much, so it didn't turn out as well as I would have liked, but I do like elements of it. Again, not super happy with this. This was one of my first attempts at watercolor, and as you can see, I had no concept of water control or letting paint dry or any of that, but this blobby thing is fun, I guess. More watercolor stuff. Guys, this really does not put me in a positive light, does it? But yeah, we're just gonna move on quickly. Okay, now we're in March. This was actually the first day of quarantine for me, and I was like, I'm gonna draw every day because we're only gonna be out of school for 6 weeks. The drawing every day thing lasted about like maybe a week, so but I like this guy. It's one of my signature forest dudes, so good job, forest dude. I like the purpley colors. This is a little study of Luna Lovegood for a different painting that I did, which I will try to remember to put up right here. Okay, this is another study of Luna. I wanted to experiment with more swirly stuff. This was me attempting to paint without mixing on the palette, so not even adding any water. It's kind of fun, kind of bright. These two are studies of paintings by Arlie Bean. I like to do studies of my favorite artists to understand sort of how they paint and what colors they use and maybe why they chose to put shadows in certain places and stuff. So those are her concepts. These are my own though, kind of stemming from what I learned from these. I still haven't painted either of these in a bigger format, but I kind of like what's going on here. I don't know, maybe I'll try something with that. This is just me playing around with Payne's Gray and mixing it. And can you tell I'm obsessed with Arlie Bean? This is a contest that she did where we basically just painted her sketch before she showed us her version of the painting. So I chose to do this kind of autumny fall concept with this weird lighting thing. Her sketch was just like the face with no eyes and a couple of leaves. So that was really fun. This is a painting that I was super proud of for the longest time. I really like all the color variation up in the weird forehead space. This was my profile picture for a while. Over here you can see where I planned it out. So I like to do that a lot, just do little tiny thumbnails that are a little bit detailed but not really. And up here you can see some more of those, just playing around with different color mixes and compositions. Again, I never painted this, but maybe I'll come back to that later. These are more of those little thumbnails. This was like a weird lighting study that didn't really work out, and this is me just swatching all the colors for those carbon paints because, I don't know, I really like swatching, and sometimes you just gotta swatch. See, more swatching. This I really like. The one thing with this paper though is that it's mixed media, so it really just sucks up the paint and it dries super fast. So you can see kind of on the face things dried up a little faster than I wanted them to, but that is okay. I still really like how this turned out, especially those flowers. I definitely want to experiment more with these kind of cutaway concepts. Oh, that's too fast. This was a Draw This in Your Style for Alina Sarah B, I think is her username. I'm not super happy with it, but it's whatever. These are little studies for a different painting I made, which I will try to remember to put up here. Wow, I'm gonna have a lot of fun putting all those pictures up. And yeah, so I was just doing color studies And I kind of went with this one here, although you'll see in the final product that it did change. More portrait stuff. I really like how this flower turned out. It's cool looking. This was off of a reference. These two were references, but I kind of changed up the colors, and I love how the colors on this one turned out. And as you can see, the portrait on the left, I added little bits of colored pencil into the hair just to give it a bit more pizzazz that you can't really get with when you're trying to just do like black dark mixes. So I like that. This was for my focus please. This was for my Inktober video, and this is a little drawing inspired by Shea Barton. I will have her linked, hopefully, if I remember. Okay, this was a hand I painted that I really like how all the colors turned out. I think I actually did that with watercolor pencils, which is fun. And this was a little thumbnail sketch for this painting. All right, these are more hands. This is David's hand, the statue, but it doesn't really look like it, so and I wasn't happy with how the palm here was turning out, so I just put a black hole over it. Okay, this was for a video that I did, which I will have up in the card there. I was just playing around with markers, and there's actually two videos. There's one that's edited and there's one that's just a real-time video, which is fun. This was for my Inktober video, just playing around with ink and in both a water form and in a pen form. It's shiny, it's fun. This was a little body study that I did, and by the way, there's a big gap between these paintings. Well, this was October and this was December, but so that's a decent gap. But then these are from March, so as you can tell, I was not very consistent in this sketchbook. These are more little studies. I really like how this amber turned out, and this is kind of an idea having to do with amber and smoke, and so I was studying the amber to see how well I could paint that. So I might give that one a go. I have a lot of ideas in here I should come back to. Okay, for some reason there's random gold paint there. I don't know why. These three are all getting closer. If it will focus. Okay, these three were studies for a limited palette painting that I did. I made a video on that. It's just brown and blue. Okay, this was painted actually without a sketch, without a reference. So that was fun. I was just kind of carving away the layers with watercolor. I need to get this back in the right frame. There we go. And these two are just portraits. I don't know, this guy looks like he's been punched in the face, and then I drew a flower. So yeah, I like how this turned out though. I like the little bits of green in the face. I want to experiment with putting more unconventional colors into skin tones more. This was a fun skull. Ooh, that's nice. We'll just leave that there. Alright, this was a fun skull that I did with just two colors. And this is just my year in review stuff. So I actually made a video. I don't think I talked through all of this, but basically at the end of the year I like to go through my work and just say what I like right now, what I don't really like, and what I want to move towards. And so it's basically helps me set an intention for the year. These were more thumbnail studies for bigger pieces. Can you tell that that's really what I do in my sketchbook? Yeah, so here's that piece. It's called Morning, and I don't have a video of it, but I do have an Instagram highlight of the process, so if that interests you, feel free to check it out. I really just wanted to play around with these colors and just back pose muscles, yay. This is, I don't know, I don't know why I left all this space blank, but these are kind of fun swooshy things. And this is My first time using the Mia or Himi Mia gouache. Yeah, I painted these noses. I have that process filmed, but I haven't gotten around to actually making the full video yet, and I wanted to spend more time with gouache before I gave any thoughts on that. But yeah, this was the first time using gouache ever, so that's fun. And then we get into more gouache. These are just some exercises from a course that Miriam Tilson did, so definitely check that out. It was super helpful. And this is stuff that I did with my Pentel brush pen. Yeah, so these were just some little sketches. I love this little concept, so I might play around with that some more. Yeah, you'll see me using this pen a lot more because I got it for Christmas. And it's super fun to sketch with. So if you have brush pens and you haven't tried sketching with them without like pencil and anything, just definitely recommend giving that a go. All right. More exercises and a little doodle on scrap paper, and more of these Pentel sketches. I love the brush effects that I got on this piece, and like the graphic nature of these too. I really like how the nose turned out on that one. So yeah, moving on. These are some hands that I never finished painting or anything. And these are more hands and a foot. What I love about this pen is that you can get these big bold lines in one stroke, and you can also get super tiny lines with the same pen. So that's cool. These I believe were for my sketching hands, how I draw hands with no sketch video, maybe, I don't know. But anyway, more hands. This was my first attempt at a gouache portrait. It's kind of a mess, but I don't know, the colors are cool. I might play around with that idea more, maybe. I say that a lot, but it doesn't ever really happen. This was my second attempt at a gouache portrait, and I did it with no sketch, and for some reason when I draw people with no sketches, they have really big noses, so I don't know. This was just me doodling in a Zoom class, so I think these 3 people were all in my Zoom class, so I don't think they're watching it, but if they are, spot yourself, I guess. And then I just said, I'm so tired and lonely, because that's a mood, and drew an elephant for some reason. Okay. This was a sketch that I really hate, and so I never did anything more with it. This was actually the page that I did the video on, so there you go. So if you want to see me sketch these, and get some tips on how to draw hands of all things with no sketch, just straight in pen, I'll have that up in the little card thingy for you. This is a landscape I did in gouache. Really my first landscape that I've done, and yeah, I mean, I like it. It's messy, but it was fun to paint. I don't know, it was really calming, and then I just wrote breathe because I needed to be reminded of that. So I'm gonna take a deep breath now. Okay, now that I have taken that reminder from myself, we can move on to this page. Yeah, I just felt like drawing this stuff. This little frog guy. I don't know why I felt like drawing that guy, but I did. So yeah, he's interesting. Moving on, here are some colored pencil sketches that I did. I really love how these turned out, especially this one and these two. These was kind of a mess. This was supposed to be a self-portrait. I don't look like that. Yeah, we're just gonna ignore this bottom half, but I really love how these turned out. This was a doodle page that I did through Instagram, so if telling me what to draw sounds interesting, I guess you can go follow me there. And then these are just some gesture drawings that I did with that same pen, and I really like doing that. It's really nice. it's a great experience to just do gestures, and if you mess up the proportions, you just kind of move on. And you just have to think intentionally about all of your lines and the overall movement of the piece. So yeah, I really love how these turned out, especially this guy over here. This one, I really love the movement and the shadow. This is another colored pencil drawing, as you can probably tell. Yeah, I don't like it as much as the other ones. I think I went a little overboard with the colors. And then this is a little thumbnail for another piece that I may or may not do. Yeah, when I say that, just take it with a grain of salt. These are some watercolor and colored pencil pieces that I did in last week's video, if I get this up when I'm planning to. So if you haven't seen that, you can go check that out. I just did watercolor and then added colored pencil on top of it, and it was really fun. And then these are some pencil sketches, because why not? And our last page, we have pretty much what looks like Hermione Granger smoking a cigarette. So, yeah, so I did film this. Hopefully I'll have the process up soon-ish. And that's the end. So if you enjoyed that, let me know what you think in the comments section. I don't think I'll be using a spiral bound sketchbook again, because I really like having the ability to just do spreads, and that's kind of hard to do with the spiral sketchbook, and it just feels very cramped when you just have this much space to work with. So yeah, I don't think I'll be using this sketchbook again, but it was decent. So if you like spiral sketchbooks, I'll have this or something similar to it linked in the description, because if I remember right, you can't actually find this anymore, at least not online. I don't know, I've looked for it, I can't find it. So yeah, that was my sketchbook tour. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next week. All right, bye.